Раз, два, три. To start, some rules. None of these games came out in 2023. If you want my opinion on 2023 games, ask me in 2030. But these are the best gaming experiences I've had for that entire year. In the words of Jeff Vogel, if it was fun once, it's still fun. Not all of these games are primarily narrative experiences. Most of them are, but I can only play so much games of the same type in 1 year. But I'm approaching any game I play from narrative perspective, so I think it counts. And 3, not all of these games I played in 2023 for the first time. Some I tried and left for later, some I completed before, but if the second experience leaves as strong of an impact as the first, the game goes straight to my top of the year. And lastly, I know that it's September, but yeah, what can I say? Fun once, always fun. Let's get straight to the list. Number 10, Kingdom Classic. This is the first game in the Kingdom series I've played. For those of you who don't know, Kingdom is a series of minimalistic 2D strategy/base defense games. You control a monarch, who is tasked with developing and defending their, kingdom. They can do this in a variety of interesting ways, by moving right, by moving left, and by allocating coins, the only resource in the game. And this minimalistic contextual approach is one thing that makes Kingdom stand out for me. During the day, you expand your camp and gather resources. During the night, defend your camp from evil monsters. Anything you do not do directly. You only create conditions for your units to take action. If you have bows, citizens will become archers. If you have grass plains around your camp, archers will hunt for resources. If you have walls, archers will defend them. If you have towers, archers will stay on them and shoot further, but won't be able to gather resources anymore. This game design feels elegant. Allocate resources and watch everything unfold, as a king or queen would. What also feels elegant is Kingdom's pixel art and music. The game is a feast for senses, and just a pleasant experience to be in. Number 9, The Fall. This is a 2D side-scrolling and point-and-click adventure game with slight shooting elements. I'm usually not a fan of point-and-click genre. I'm quite bad with logic puzzles and I don't have patience to not look at the guide. Yet I quite enjoyed The Fall, as it's a very deliberate and thoughtful game with tight design, even if sometimes rough around the edges. You take control of Arid, a battlesuit AI with the only task of protecting your unconscious pilot. The problem is your programming is limited without your pilot's authorization. You are forbidden to use the tools you need to achieve your goal. You'll have to bend the rules your creators imposed on you to do what they've created you to do. There is a sequence in the middle of the game during which you'll need to complete AI certification tests. The tests are supposed to challenge your understanding of human psyche, but all of them have quite arbitrary winning conditions. You don't have the tools to solve the puzzles in a correct way, but understanding the game's theme will help you with finding the intended solution. Bend and break every rule that can possibly be bended or broken. Bond or broken? Just like real life's higher education. Overall, this is one of the most convincing rogue AI origin story narratives in any media I've seen, and the game's interactive nature really helps to elevate this concept. Number 8, Metal Unit. Metal Unit seems to be an outlier in this list. I don't usually play roguelite games, nor side-scrolling /them-up platformers. And I usually do play games with their story, in which department Metal Unit has little to offer. It's all standard stuff, good underground aliens against evil up-above aliens, or vice versa. High school girls in mecha suits and saving the world with the power of friendship and or familial bonds. What the game excels at is giving you many weapons to unleash on those pesky enemies and letting you find any broken combinations to one-shot anything on your screen. Maybe that's the reason why Metal Unit is so high on this list. It's simply fun. Fun to control, fun to shoot, fun to engage with again and again, fun despite its story and not because of it. Maybe for some roguelite expert this will be just another entry in the genre, solid but nothing spectacular. But for me, this one of the few purely gameplay experiences I liked enough to finish and to play a bit more in New Game Plus. It's just challenging enough, well, with some accessibility options and also optional challenges, to make you feel like you've struggled, but soon became the most dangerous thing in the room. And this is a narrative in itself, and not many games keep me around long enough to experience it. Number 7. The Mooseman. The Mooseman is an atmospheric retelling of Komi myths. Gameplay-wise is move to the right, solve light puzzles adventure, but thematically and aesthetically it's one of the few games that came closest to replicating ancient, syncretic understanding of the game. It's an act of participation in the movement of being. Yeah, I know, pretentious, but bear with me. It's an act of participation in the movement of being, just like ancient Greek mysteries. As a titular Mooseman, the player relives the myth of bringing the sun back to the sky every morning. The thing that is taken for granted in a modern mind required great effort in mythical understanding. And in this game you get to experience this effort, to appreciate such things as if you were part of them. After completing Mooseman, I felt like I myself was renewed, like I gained a bit more gratitude for such simple things as dawn. Games should do this more often. They should also more often use smaller, different myths and languages and cultures and have the same level of care as developers in Martoshka. Having actual museum artifacts as optional collectibles in a game, it's another layer of authenticity, another level of tangibility to the experience. I really love such things. I'm looking forward to playing their next game, Black Book. Number 6. Life and Suffering of Sir Brante. The last game I've played in 2023, this narrative text-based adventure lives and dies on the strength of its narrative systems. In its core, this is a game of stats. You start an encounter, make choices, each choice affects your stats. An increase there, a decrease here. Some choices are available only if you meet stats prerequisite. Simple, right? Not so much. If you look at sheer number of stats, you've got personal stats, you've got reputation with characters, you've got family stats, you've got province stats. Every decision affects several of these attributes, bringing you closer to and cutting off different paths. By default, the choices are open about their immediate consequences in terms of statistics, but you could rarely guess the long-term consequences of your first playthrough. This fact provides an interesting blend of feeling in control, yet having surprises. Yes, seeing not only your stats, but those of bigger entities, such as your province, puts you more into a directorial position than typical RPG ideal of being an actor, in a theater sense. You could say that the game is less about a character, a persona, and more about their fate, their life and their suffering. This is different from what I've come to expect from RPGs, and they usually put you deep into character's head. But once you accept the game's unique standpoint, you will start enjoying it immensely. Because it's that good at what it tries to achieve. Personal and political stories interweave, giving rise to complex dilemmas. As an architect of your fate, you consider your every option, every choice to bring the future you want to build. You dive deep into this world's mysteries, or navigate turbulent waters of its fleshed-out political systems, hunting for glory, wealth, recognition, justice, or change. Number 5. Aviary Attorney. A detective game set in the 19th century France, populated by anthropomorphic animals, with art taken straight from the caricatures of 19th century French illustrator Jean-Jacques Granville. Ranveer, I'm sorry. Talk about authenticity. As I have never played an Ace Attorney game, which in its gameplay Aviary Attorney emulates, I had no prior knowledge or preference, and I must say that I was pleasantly surprised. Few games made me feel like a detective as much as this one. I've traveled the city, collected clues, and ultimately confronted suspects in a battle of wits in a courtroom. What I came to love the most is that Aviary Attorney allowed me to fail, and fail spectacularly. It weaved my failures seamlessly into narrative, picked them and elevated, allowing them to shine as much as successes. I might have learned some of the truth, but not all. I might have learned the truth, but never managed to gather enough evidence to definitely prove it. Any oversight, any triumph, it all felt like it mattered. So much so that when, after I finished the game, I was shocked to find out that the game had different endings. No, several completely distinct ending chapters. Forget choices and consequences, actions and their natural outcomes. That's what Aviary Attorney delivers. I play a lot of branching narrative games, and Aviary Attorney was the first in a long time to actually surprise me with its reactivity of its narrative. And I don't know where to put it, so I say this in the end. This is perhaps the funniest game I've ever played in my life. Number 4. The Crown of Leaves. One of the things that I love the most in games or in any media is a sense of being transported to another place. This feeling usually needs several stars to align to come into being. One thing is presentation. It doesn't have to be awe-inspiring, but it must have this elusive quality of being sharp, distinct enough, eye-catching. The other thing is usually the wealth of details, our ability to and focus on experiencing fineries of the place early on. And another important point is just the sense that beyond what we are being shown, beyond the edges of the screen, there is a vast and rich world that we may once possibly see, or at least see its effects. The Crown of Leaves, a stunningly beautiful visual novel that depicts the life of a down-on-his-luck jeweler/paranormal journalist in a wonderfully distinct village of Latori that is soon to experience ripples of events in the wild world, is one such game. The Crown of Leaves manages to start telling a story of, one may say, cosmic proportions, while never leaving bounds of one backwater village. It's as if 2/3 of Lord of the Rings took place in Hobbiton, and it would be both epic and intimate, heartwarming. Yes, I said 2/3 because there are only 2 chapters of 3 planned, but while leaving on an open note for now, the story leaves you with many of its shiny trinkets that will leave a mark in your heart. From a bunch of colorful and well-defined characters that you'll fall in love with, like really, they're so great, to mysteries of the world. From small customs to old stories, from familial history to personal music preference, there are many things that will make this world feel truly alive and worth experiencing. Number 3. Sanator, Scarlet Scarf. Sometimes art made as if specifically for you. Sanator Scarlet Scarf is one of those times. It's a short and simple visual novel about a plague doctor of sorts fighting a mysterious plague in a small backwaters town. What, pathologic you say? Well, yes, but only because it seems to be a part of a wave, of a genre of fiction that seems to have originated from pathologic long ago, but since then turned into an artistic movement of sorts. Pathologic, Inner Shadows, now Sanator and many others are talking about the same. There is a plague, and there is a city. and there is a sense of futility of one's efforts to thwart the inevitable, and sort of nobility of these futile efforts. These are also stories about the inevitability of death, and about millstones of history that are to certainly grind you to dust, and about power and powers and our own insignificance. In some sense, it did not start with pathologic. Maybe it started with Dostoevsky, or maybe it all started when first peoples began settling on these godforsaken lands east of the west and west of the east. Sorry for rambling, but Sanator wakes feelings in me and thoughts, and it's one of the reasons why it's so high on this list. But I also love it for what it is, for its prose, its art, for its music and the world building. It's part of Domestic Anime world, that also includes a couple of comics and the tabletop RPG, Nudmer. The latter is only available in Russian, but it's an interesting strategic Fate core hack. I can tell you more about it another time if you want. All in all, this is a story about suffering that propagates more suffering, and about choices that one has to make to stop this cycle when one has the authority and the responsibility to do so. As a brother of Saint Elm, a member of a quasi-military, quasi-occult, quasi-medical and quasi-religious organization that de facto keeps the kingdom together by eliminating monsters, plagues and political unrest, it's your responsibility to end this threat. It's not a medical detective story, but it's sort of a mystery. It's a philosophical and character study, and I love it for it. Number 2. Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky. Among the fictional places that have a permanent place in my heart, there is one, the thought of which fills me with a sort of childlike joy. Its name is Liberal, a kingdom in which Trails in the Sky trilogy is set, with 5 distinct regions, fully fleshed out lore, history and politics, and many named characters with their own stories. This is one of the most detailed and immersive settings I've ever seen in a game. Trails in the Sky tells a story of a young bracer in training, bracers being a fun take on police or adventuring guild, on a journey to find her missing father and complete her training. During this quest, she will visit every corner of the kingdom and help its citizens solve countless problems, from looking for rare cooking ingredients to performing a stage play to investigating air pirates to unraveling kingdom-wide conspiracies. Every time I opened Trails, I found on my face a grin from ear to ear. This was a stupid smile of a very happy person, and I'm not sure I can explain why this game made me feel so happy. Maybe it's the old school feel, reminiscent of my childhood. Maybe it's characters that are both deep and memorable. Maybe it's kind of humor that never missed the mark for me. Maybe a classical story full of variety and some twists and turns. Even if they will not catch the worst player by surprise, they will have you truly feel for characters. Oh, you know what? I think it's that for every bit of attention and care you invested into this world and these characters, it gave back threefold. Each and every NPC has a name and a story that develops over time. You can literally talk with NPCs from entire region after every main quest, and they will have something new to say. Reacting to news, developing relationships, living their own lives. Some people dread starting the Trails series because it's been going for more than 20 years now, with 12, soon to be 13 main installments. To them, I want to confess. I've played only the first game and I never came around to playing the sequels. There is something to be said for finding a thing so precious you're afraid to keep going. On the one hand, I don't want the story to end, and on another, I'm a bit uneasy about the shifts in tone and focus. Trails in the Sky hits a sweet spot of fantasy meets fantasy tech in sort of steampunk way. The series soon shifts its focus in tone and, technological development. I know that one of the big plot points of the newest game will be building and launching of a Soyuz sort space rocket. Yeah. But still, the first game will always have special place in my heart. And you too can give it a go. You don't have to get in for a long ride if you only like one story. It's okay. And also it just has the best music. From quiet moments to fierce battles, you'll meet them with style and groove. I adore Trails in the Sky. Even taking an hour to write this small review filled me with a sense of tranquility, peace and happiness. It's something special, and if it resonates with you, it may become one of the best experiences you've had in games. Number 1. Disco Elysium. Speaking of places that feel like home, welcome to Revachol, a destitute city on the ruins of a communist project where crime is rampant, war is inevitable, and life is absurd and devoid of meaning. Such a unique and imaginative setting for some, and haha, I live there for others. Disco Elysium is a story about a police detective who felt so much pain that one day he drank himself into amnesia. The morning after that is when the game starts. With the murder games to solve, a dozen of voices in the head, no clue about the world you're in, and a complete inability to resemble a functioning human being, and the best partner in the history of gaming. Disco Elysium is an RPG, and quite richly innovative at that. It uses no attributes, only skills system, with every skill having a distinct voice of inner thoughts that intersects itself into dialogue. This is a very clever way to ensure that we know our character in and out, that their personality is displayed not only in available dialogue choices, but also in the way how and why the character came to their choices. The dialogue skill system on the one hand makes players closer to the protagonist than in any RPG, and on the other hand ensures that said protagonist is never a blank slate. Disco Elysium never jumps to the opportunity to drop its sword on you. On the contrary, the world, its laws, history and nature is hidden, is a mystery, another case to solve. The game cleverly uses the same structure for world building as for the main plot. To untangle the complex net of events that led to the man being hanged in the backyard of the diner requires the same set of skills, the same story and gameplay principles as discovering the world. It hides its secrets, it wants you to look for them. By making the world reward, something to be sought after, the game encourages the player to savor it, to contemplate it, to enjoy it instead of skimming over. Disco Elysium is a testament to human spirit. You wake up in a broken city, in a broken body and a broken mind, all in a deeply broken universe, with a seemingly impossible task at hand that brings you to the lowest depths of a human nature, and yet you have a chance to persevere, to live through it, to do your job. Disco Elysium is a game that stays with you. You may not remember the depth of its systems, or the way it revolutionizes the genre of RPGs, or its hauntingly melodious soundtrack, or the Pale, or who the killer was, or even Kuno. But you will remember its message. You can do it. Do something. Things break down, but you're still here. In this world, still alive.
Will you admit that to yourself? Good boy. Own it. Steal hot dogs, shit in the sand, whatever it takes to keep going.
So, this is the list. Thank you so much for watching. It took me 9 months to finish this video, and I don't think I'll ever do anything like this again. I hope you had a good gaming year yourself. If not gaming, then just a good year. Not horrible year. You're still alive to watch this video here. Pretty reasonable bar. Please take care of yourself, and maybe we'll see each other again.